Is Gears of War the Dark Souls of solo board gaming dungeon crawlers? I'll let you decide. But the answer is yes.
Hey man, let's go see what the cogs are doing.
Yeah, alright, sounds like a great idea.
Hey Phoenix, what's up? Give me some skin, man.
Yeah, like you guys never hang with us anymore. What's with that? Choo-choo! All aboard the coal train, baby!
Hello everyone, welcome, I'm Robert, and today I'm gonna discuss Gears of War, the board game. And this board game has been a mainstay of the People's Choice Top 200 solo games, even as far back as the first time the voting took place. The first time was in 2014, and this made it to number 6 back then. And ever since, it's pretty much stayed on the list since. And because it's out of print, unfortunately, it's been getting knocked back consistently every year. Just the availability is not there. This copy, I got a copy that the box was a bit busted, but all the components were still in shrink wrap, so that was great. Not for a bad price either. And my experience with the game so far has been the first 3 scenarios, and I played almost all of them one-handed, and then the last time I played here, you can see this is the belly of the beast scenario. In my last failed attempt here, I played two-handed for the first time. And I want to discuss, first of all, the difficulty here. So the game is pretty brutal. I only won the first scenario, the emergence scenario, which is pretty much like an intro scenario, just playing with one character. But then after that, every time I played, I've been destroyed. I tried. Don't even get me started on the emergence scenario where you have to deal with the Berserker Beast. I played that multiple times, and yeah, I got destroyed every time. I got farther and farther into the scenario every time. I did learn things, but I just got a bit frustrated. I moved on to the next scenario and see if it was just gonna be difficult as well. This Belly of the Beast scenario was also pretty tough, and yeah, I just got destroyed playing solo and two-handed as well. Okay. So yeah, that was my experience. Pretty brutal. I'll talk a bit more at the end about that, but now I want to discuss the systems. Okay, this I really like the system that this game has with the card play. Okay, how your hands are your actions. Sorry, your cards in your hand are your actions and your health. Okay. This is not like a deck builder or anything like that. It's pretty much a dungeon crawler. And as far as translations from the video game go, which I've only played the original Gears of War, the first one. I never played the others. I think it adapted really well. The cover system, the tactical moving around and getting out of cover and shooting. It translates those mechanics beautifully into board game form, and I do enjoy the system here a lot. The cover is a bit fiddly to learn initially how line of sight works. Not cover, sorry. How line of sight works. Took a bit to wrap my head around that. But yeah, the system here works great. The rules, they're okay. They were not the easiest this game is not something that you're gonna learn in like half an hour. Is not gonna be a quick to learn game. It's very different from any other game I've played. It's pretty different from any other game I've played. Okay, so it definitely took a bit of work internalizing this. It's pretty unique. Even with all the games I have under my belt, this late into the game, me playing this, it took me some time to internalize it. Okay, but very very fascinating system with your hand acting as your not. I think earlier I said deck, your hand acting as your character's health. Okay, characters have six hand size of six. Marcus has a hand size of seven. When you get hit, you discard cards from your hand, and if you go to zero, you die. Okay, if you run out of cards in your hand. All right. So I love that. Very interesting. Adds tension. Then there's the multi-use cards. Okay, when in here you have your player phase where you play cards and move around and shoot, and then there's the enemy AI phase where you flip AI cards and the enemies in the map will act. Okay, and during that phase, you can use some of these cards in the corner there. For example, this one you can discard it to attack enemies and interrupt them. Okay, so you get a chance of attacking during the enemy acting. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. And then you can discard cards to roll extra defense die, and you can also during your turn you discard this card to with this corner cards with this corner with this icon to move after another player miniature move. So it's like you can follow them. You get a free move by discarding that card. Okay. Now in solo there are a couple rules changes. Okay, so like this, you basically get an extra move. There's no need to having another miniature. So that's one interesting thing this game does. By the way, it allows you to play pure solo. Not a lot of dungeon crawlers work really well like that. I'm gonna say that I wasn't too happy with how swingy could be playing pure solo. Okay. I think that added to the difficulty of how tough it was. I was just a bit. I got a bit carried away with the idea that I could play this completely solo, and I just tried to make that work. But it looks like most people tend to, from what I read, most people tend to land on playing two-handed, which takes a bit more upkeep, but it's not too bad, and that seems to be the more balanced sweet spot. All right, so that you, because the thing is, if you're playing solo, once your character bleeds out, aka when you run out of cards, it's over. All right, you lose the game. Now, when you play with two characters, and while one character is bleeding out, the other character can go and revive them. Okay, so there's a bit more tactics there. Okay, and being able to spread your two miniatures around the map and complete objectives or distract the enemies. Like when you're playing solo, all the enemies are going at you, so it can be pretty tough. Okay, it's not impossible. I have I've read that people have beat it, but it's just very tough. As you can see, there's definitely a theme of the game being very tough. All right. I really like the AI system here too. By the way, it's very quick. You just flip an AI card, and there's some general events, okay, that affect multiple enemy types. But then each enemy type has a number of AI cards that you shuffle into the deck. So the scenario setup will tell you. Which enemies will be in this map, and you just set them up at the beginning, okay? And then you gather their AI cards and you shuffle them into the scenario, into the AI event or card, the AI deck. And then there's some general events that the scenario setup will instruct you to shuffle into the deck, okay? So yeah, you just flip AI cards, you follow instructions. There will be some instances where you're going to be flipping multiple AI cards because the prompt will tell you, okay, if this isn't true, then do this. If this isn't true, then do this. And there's going to be many times where you're going to be flipping multiple AI cards. And there are some AI cards that are just really mean where the AI will do something and it'll just tell you to draw another card. It's like in Lord of the Rings when you have Surge, it's like this bad thing happens and they just keep... It can just stack and you end up drawing a bunch of AI cards. That can happen too. Okay, so I mentioned that I wanted to discuss the difficulty again, all right, because I keep mentioning it. I don't mind difficult games. The problem with this is that I have felt that there were scenarios, especially when playing pure solo, which I mean the game does offer the option, right? So that's assume you pick the option to play with just one character, assuming that it's viable to beat, and I'm sure it is. It's just that many times when I played, I just felt that even if I did everything right, I was gonna get destroyed. So now, okay, fine. I get destroyed. I'll just play again. The problem is that the game is not exactly a breeze to set up. I'm not gonna go as far as saying that it's a pain to set up. It's not a pain to set up, but it's slightly fiddly to set up and to reset. So when you die, when you die, and sometimes it can be just so sudden that like you plan your turn, and you do the best that you can at that in that situation, and you just get destroyed regardless. And some people will say, it's fun to lose in this game. I can see that the game is very thematic. Okay, it tells stories of, the scenarios will play out in different ways with the tiles coming out differently, the enemies coming out differently. So there's variability there, and the scenarios won't play the same every time necessarily. And it does tell stories. I can picture this being great with playing with a buddy, multiplayer, but it's just so sudden sometimes when you lose. And when I play with the two characters, two-handed, once a character is hit, like if the dice are not in your favor, and you're hit and you discard a bunch of cards, I felt that I was on life support, and until you draw a card that allows you to refill your hand, which it's far and few between. This is like one of the this card is pretty precious because it allows you to refill your hand at the right time, right? Because sometimes it's going to be useless if you're doing pretty well. But this card allows you to refill your hand and skip the enemy activating that turn, which is insane. This card is pretty powerful at the right time when you're bleeding out, when you're like about to, when your character is about to be killed or put in bleeding out. Okay. Situation. But yeah, I got myself in this scenario which I lost. Okay, Belly of the Beast. So I got myself in a situation where one character gets hit really bad by an attack and he's like on life support, and then the other character's bleeding out, and it's like I can't even go rescue the other guy because you need to discard a card in order to revive your buddy. So it's just very, very tough. And again, I don't mind tough games. To an extent, I wish there was an official way of adjusting difficulty. Some people have, which I read what people were doing to, see if they could improve their experience. Some people just house rule it. I don't like house ruling. I've explained that in other videos. So there's not really a way of adjusting difficulty officially. So you just have to keep learning the nuances and playing over and over again until you learn the right tactic for each scenario, which is all right. Sometimes I don't feel like getting my ass kicked when playing games. It's just that simple, okay? And there was a whole lot of getting my ass kicked in this game, all right? I wish there was a way of adjusting difficulty officially, and there isn't. And yeah, the scenarios, there's this card in particular that it's just brutal. In the Belly of the Beast scenario, let me show you. Firefight, yeah. So if you drew this card at the wrong time, no matter what you did, it's over. Like your character just would get piled on and attacked a whole bunch. And I learned that you're supposed to keep pay attention to the discard pile. You learn that as much very early on. But even then, remember, there's gonna be times where you draw a bunch of AI cards because the board state will, that's just gonna be the board state. You're gonna draw an AI card and it'll just tell you to draw another one and another one because there's none of the options apply. So even if you only have a couple cards left on the draw pile, and this is in the discard pile, you're gonna have a false sense of safety because, oh, okay, I already drew this, I don't have to worry about it. But the last time I lost the China shop scenario, that's how I lost, because this was on the discard pile. I only had like a couple of cards left. I passed. I wasn't, my character was in cover. I thought I was safe, but then I drew a bunch of AI cards, like 5 in a row, and I had to reshuffle the AI deck, and this was the last card that came out. Like I thought I was safe from this card, but I wasn't. So yeah, just this card is just like game ending, and yeah, it just feels like it ends so suddenly. There's like there's no gradual, like you in the two-player game. Yeah, it feels like a bit more gradual. Your downfall of like your characters bleeding out, not being able to recover, just getting attacked constantly. That feels like a bit more gradual, at least. But in solo, like just all of a sudden, even if you have a full card of hands, a full hand of cards, you can just get destroyed out of nowhere like that. Okay, so that's to say, with all of that, that I think I'm done with this game for now. I'm not gonna go as far as I'm not gonna go as far as like trading it or giving it away. I think I just need to be in the mood for this game, because this game just I love the system. It's just the difficulty that I have an issue with. Okay, it's just very very tough. And like I said, sometimes I'm just not in the mood for like getting you know getting my ass kicked back again constantly. I'm just not in the mood for that. I don't enjoy games that are like too easy either, or that don't have interesting decisions. This game is full of interesting decisions, and the system is solid. The system is sound. I love the AI. I love the weapon, the ammo system, the cover, the action cards. Like I said, the multi-use cards, the characters, how they all have differences. I love the system. It's just the difficulty I have an issue with. The theme is great. It's a great video game translation. Because, like I said, I've played that original game, and I feel like I'm playing the video game in board game form. So it's a brilliant translation from the video game. So just kudos to the work done translating the video game. The dice can be a bit of a the dice can be a bit of a roller coaster for sure. Sometimes you'll roll like 5 defense dice, and you'll discard a card to try to as a hill, in order to try to not take as much damage or die. But even when you roll 5 defense dice, you only roll like one. Okay, like one defense, and yeah, you do have to re-roll if you just re-roll a result if you roll more than that. Okay. But yeah, so I'm not gonna go as far as like putting this game up for trade or anything. I'll come back to it at some point, and I'll give it another shot. It wasn't the easiest to learn either. It's not the easiest to set up, but I think it's once you learn it and you have your cheat sheet written down, like I don't think I'm gonna have a hard time coming back and playing it again. I'll definitely give this another shot, and after that, if it doesn't work, then yeah, I'll think about like trading it. But this is such a beloved game that I had to try it at some point, even with I paid a bit of a premium for it. Now, there's one other interesting thing I want to discuss, and it's the fact that at the time that this came out, there was a bit of a debate going on between people comparing this to Dungeons and Dragons, the Dungeons and Dragons adventure system. Okay, and I have another video coming up on this, because this was one of the first solo board games I had in my collection. It's like within the first 10 or 20 that I bought, and I liked it at the time. I ended up trading it, but then it recently came back. Okay, within the past month I bought this again, and I started reading the forums on it, right? Because I just saw other people playing it on the one player guild, solitaire games on your table, and I kind of missed. It's like, man, like I'll discuss in detail in that video why I gave it away or traded it back then. But I was like, man, I kind of missed that game, so I reacquired it. And come to find out, yeah, at the time when these two games, Gears of War and this system was out and they were popular, there was a debate. People like which solo dungeon crawler should you pick? Okay, this or Gears of War. And I found it very interesting. Even Tristan Hall, before he dedicated to game design, he was there, pitching in his opinion about which game he enjoyed more. And And on one camp, you have people saying that this game has like zero tactical elements and it's like just completely random, versus this is like the superior game because it's like more tactical. There's like more tough decisions, and it almost felt like a console war, like Xbox versus PlayStation or something like that. I found it very amusing, but I'm gonna let you know that I have had a lot more fun revisiting this game. I've played it a ton more compared to Gears of War. Gears of War, having with how much I kept losing, I did not look forward to repeating playing scenarios here as much as I did when I reacquired this game, because this all happened while this was still on my table. Okay, I'm just playing it on a separate table, but I ended up enjoying this a whole lot more. I'm playing it a whole lot more in between, and there's a video coming up about that. But uh, you know, uh, that I don't know what that says about me. I think that kind of makes it clear where I stand with which game I enjoy more. You can have both, obviously, but the other one is just like a quick. Well, first, one thing that I'll mention about the other game is that I learned it in an hour. Okay, like in an hour, I was good to go, and I played, and I didn't get destroyed like immediately, which could happen in the other game. But here, one thing was how this took me a while to internalize. Okay, it's a pretty unique system, so the other one set up quick, played it a whole bunch, and I had a huge enjoyment of the other system compared to this. Now, like I said, there are things I have had fun with this. Just to be clear, just the difficulty, yeah. The difficulty can be a bit of a bummer sometimes, but I'm not letting go of this game. I'll revisit it at some point in the future, but I think for now I'm gonna put it back in my shelf. Do I recommend it? I mean, I definitely think you should try it out. I wish it wasn't so out of print, but with how many people enjoy this game so much, I think you should. Even if even if I or many other people might have an issue with how frustrating the difficulty might be, I think it's worth trying. It's unfortunate the prices it commands these days, but I do at least suggest that do some research on it, see if it's for you. And if you're a fan of the IP, by the way, I think it's a no-brainer. I'm sure some people are going to be willing to pay the high commanding prices that this has, but very fascinating system, very interesting dungeon crawl that is not it's a dungeon crawl that's not a fantasy setting, by the way. It's like a sci-fi shooter setting, which it makes it stand out a lot. So yeah, Gears of War, very very interesting game. And definitely glad I tried it. But yeah, I think I'm a bit tired of getting my ass kicked. So, but there you go, folks. Those are my thoughts on this game. This almost like a historic game among the board game community. This legendary game. If you folks have any comments, questions, feedback, go ahead and put them in the comment section. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.